Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Create & Craft. We're live and we're in the middle of our fabulous 10th birthday celebration here on the channel. And you have tuned in on a brilliant day because we kick off the day today, our celebrations, with Jennie Rayment and a quilting classroom. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about some extra special things that we're doing over the weekend. Obviously, we can't celebrate without a prize draw. So let me tell you a little bit about our prize draw first of all. Here are all the details for you. If you'd like to enter our prize draw, it's as simple as this. Any customer who, and that's you, who's going to be placing an order, which I hope you're going to be doing at some time between 5 o'clock on Thursday just past and 1 minute to 9 tonight will automatically, actually, I tell a lie, that says Sunday the 21st of April. That's next Sunday. That's when I'll be running the London Marathon. All the way to 1 minute to 9 next Sunday. You'll automatically be popped into a prize draw with a chance to win. Are you ready for this? Dun, 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 £1,000 worth of Create & Craft products. It's absolutely awesome. Of course, you can put your orders in either on 09056 480 480 or, of course, the way you like doing it on the web, createandcraft.tv. But that isn't all, because we've also got an opportunity for you to send us a card. Our 10th birthday celebration, we want you to maybe make us a card. And you'll be in with a chance of winning £200 worth of paper crafting goodies. So please include your name, your email, phone number and address, and simply send them to Create & Craft 10th birthday competition at Ideal Home House, Newark Road, Peterborough, which is Papa Echo 1 5 Whiskey Golf. That's how that address goes, yeah? All right, thank you very much for joining me. It is absolutely superb to have you here. Lots lined up this morning, but we're going to kick off with something so special. I know many of you have tuned in specifically for this because we're going to be doing the quilting classroom with Jennie Rayment. Quilting Classroom. She's here, everybody. The bag lady.
The bag lady. We've got 3 bags for you to show you this morning.
Well, 3, maybe 4. Maybe
well.
4. Now, that's going to be down to you because you have absolutely unadulterated access to Jennie this morning. I'm leaving her to her own devices. So this is what we're going to do. Jennie, last few seconds with your safety net.
Yes.
Let's run through everything that's on the show.
And we're cuddly blanket, girls and boys.
I'm going to be just there. But Jennie is alone with you. It's one-on-one. It's in the classroom. Thank you for joining in. Jennie, I'm going to let you just discover her on your own if you're meeting her for the first time this morning. But I don't want to rush her and I don't want her to be under pressure because
no, thank you.
That's not a good Jennie. That's an unravelling Jennie.
Absolutely. Then I get in the muddle and everything goes absolutely what's its up.
Nothing's going to go like that today.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Good.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly zip you through, and this is going to be item numbers and prices, everybody, so be very quick. Start with the fabrics,
yes.
and helpfully, Jennie's actually used the fabrics throughout the demonstrations.
I have indeed. Well, not throughout the demonstrations, but to make the bags.
Look.
So, these 3 sets of fabrics, which are ½ metre each. You've got 3 ½ meters in 3 different colourways. They can be used to make the bag. Now, that will make this bag. This is the Clover Florida bag.
And we've got the pattern coming up in the show, haven't we?
Yeah. The next little lot will also make this, because it's the same size, but it will make that bag too. And that there is the PDF on the Quilting Classroom section of createandcraft.tv's website.
Brilliant.
So that's there. The other one will again make one of those, or it'll make 2 of these.
2 of these.
All right.
Okay.
And that comes from Tucks and Textures too, which again you can find all the details on the website.
And when you named that book, you didn't think about us saying it on TV, did you?
No, I didn't.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like the fabrics, here are the options for you. You've got forest, you've got oak, or you've got summer, and it's 275908, and it's a club price of £10 and 79 pence. We've also got Tucks, Textures and Pleats. This is the next book for you from Jennie Rayment. Of course, there is a variation on a theme. Jennie will highlight this to you as she goes through the demonstrations. 1349 275 950. There are 2 patterns from Simplicity to choose from. The first over here, again, it's all about bags today,
All
Jennie.
about bags today.
Let's quickly give you the details. I love this because that would make an absolutely awesome bag if you're carrying around things like your cameos and your silhouettes, which my friend Laura brought round to the house yesterday.
And you can open it out into a hanging device as well.
Look!
So it's a great big squidgy bag. Sadly, if you're going to buy the fabrics, because they're so great, you will need 2 packs of these fabrics.
Good
but the
tip.
price is fantastic.
$5.39. And remember, because we're celebrating, I want my crew to get involved now. The postage and packaging is
Free.
I love it. My favourite price for anything. Okay, quickly on, and this again is for those trendy people out there.
Yes, I thought it was a really neat bag. Yes.
And don't you think the oak set would look really nice in that
it
bag?
Would be very, and again, you'll need probably 2 lots of this to make that bag.
And I just want to say, people who've got prams, this is a good bag because it'll go over.
I know somebody who might have a pram who's running the London Marathon as well.
Yes.
With the pram?
No.
No, don't blame you.
That would be awesome.
Don't blame you.
275949 is the item number for that. All right then, everybody. Of course, there's absolutely no point doing any kind of quilting or anything that you would expect Jennie Rayment to do unless you can cut. Cutting is important.
Cutting is 100% vital, and I would not be without a form of rotary cutter and a ruler and a mat, as I said yesterday on the birthday show.
And I was seeing your praises of this particular rotary cutter.
Like it.
The 45mm when I met your dear friend Mandy last weekend.
Yes.
Oh, she was such a joy, just like you. 203603 is your item number, and of course it works on its own as a normal rotary cutter, but also particularly well in conjunction with the rulers from, of course, True Cut. And here comes the first one for you. It's the 6.5 by 12.5 inch rectangle. It's hugely popular, difficulty keeping stock. 203627. I've lost track of how many times we sold that one out. And the same applies to the next one. Are you ready? And this one is the massive Big Daddy ruler, we call it. That's a 6.5 by 24.5 quilting ruler, 1979, and that's 203628. Some absolute basics for you now. Essential. Jenny is going to be working from them today. This is the Florida tote collection bag. This is the first bag that Jenny is going to make for you today, live on air. You're watching the quilting masterclass with Jennie Rayment, 191551. Then we've got the D-rings. Just very quickly tell you about these. Useful when you're making any kind of bag.
Every bag, and it adds class and pizzazz, and they're excellent quality. It makes it professional.
And choices here, you can go for the chrome kind of finish, or you can go for the nickel finish, which is just over there. Is this the next one, which is the silver finish, is it? No, that's the 2 options that you've got. It's the glossy nickel, or there is the satin brushed. And the satin brushed is the more sort of bronzy looking, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Just subtly different.
192126 is the item number. Next up, I've also got this wrap and fuse, useful stuff. We'll talk about this as we go through. This is the piping. This is 192135 at £10.79. And we've also got this. Now, let me just quickly give you the details because, again, all of this is on the website. Don't forget, free postage and packaging. So make your money go further today, ladies and gentlemen. 192139 is the item number. That is the lovely Creator Strap. I want to call it a facility, but I don't think that's the right way to put it. It's like a type of webbing, essentially. But Jenny will talk you through all of this in a minute. Let's quickly look at the next item for you. Again, everything is with free PMP. This is a stabilizer that I've got for you now. You can go for it. I'm pleased to say this is 192194. I believe those go into the bottom, but Jenny will take you through that in just a minute. And then we've got this for you, also useful. And with free postage and packaging, it's the Tax and Textures 2. I'm glad I got through that. I was a bit worried about how I was going to say that first thing in the morning. 275982. 8 minutes in, are you ready to do some quilting with Jennie Rayment, ladies and gentlemen? That's what you tuned in for today. Right. Okay, now we're going to start off by doing the Florida bag. Yes. Which I'm going to bring to the front over here. D-rings have been deployed. And I'm afraid that's what I'm going to do with you now.
You're going to deploy yourself as well?
I'm going to deploy you. And I'm going to go, and I'll be just there, ladies and gentlemen, Jennie Rayment and your quilting masterclass. Have fun, darling.
Thank you.
See, 8 minutes, I promise you.
I'll call you back. You did very well there. Right, here we are. The Quilting Classroom is on bags. Today I am a bag lady, and we're going to be starting off with the Clover bag pattern by Nancy Zeman, and I'm using the Florida one, this one, and you'll be able to use the 3.5 meters by the pin flare that was sold at the front of the show. I forget the name, somebody will perhaps tell me what the name is. So these 3 fabrics will make this bag, or indeed you could use any of the other colorways. Right, there is the bag. Let me clear everything to one side. You will get the pattern, and the pattern comes with instructions. It comes with instructions written in 4 different languages. So if you inadvertently don't understand one of the instructions, then read one of the others. So those are the instructions and the pattern pieces. Now, when you actually start to read the various pattern pieces, it tells you to press interfacing, some form of interfacing, onto your fabric, and then draw round on the pattern. Now, this can waste quite a lot of material.
I'm just going to move your microphone just for a second, everybody, just because you've got a little bit of rattling going on with your necklace. There we go. I'm here to help, you see.
Yes, well done, thank you. I'm sorry if I was rattling. It's my brain going round. There's a big empty space up there. It advises you to press interfacing to the back of the fabric you're using for the outside of the bag and then draw the pattern on. Now this can, in my opinion, waste a little bit of material, and fabric is expensive. So why not, instead of drawing the pattern onto the interfacing that you press to the back of the fabric, actually just draw the pattern straight onto the interfacing and then cut it out. This means you can, rather like a dressmaker's pattern, place it on the fabric wherever you like and cut it out exactly, thereby saving quite a lot of material. The section I've got here at the moment is the front section of the bag, and how the bag actually works. Let me get this bag and show you. The bag works with a front panel with a pocket. It then has two side panels, which you can, if you wish, because there are 6 different options this bag, have pockets on here as well. And indeed, I've done a variety of bags and we'll talk about them afterwards. So you can have a pocket here, pocket in the middle. And you could do the same thing on the other side if you wished, or you can ignore the pockets. So move number 1 is trace off all your pattern pieces, press them onto the interfacing and cut them out. You'll be told to then take the center section of the bag, which is this bit, and you have to construct the pocket. Now you have a choice with the pockets. You have a variety of pockets, one that has a straight edge and one that has a curved edge. Whether you choose to pipe it or not is entirely and utterly up to you. So move number 1 is cut out the pocket pieces. Let me move that to one side. You'll need a pocket piece for the lining. Now on the pattern, what I think is really good about these patterns is you have it all marked out in colours. So you simply select the colour for the bag choice that you've actually made. So if you're going to make green, you follow all the green lines. If you're going to make blue, you follow all the blue lines, etc., etc. The instructions actually are pretty clear. So to make the pocket, you take one piece of lining, you take one piece of outer fabric to which you have fused the interfacing. You then can construct the piping. Now what Clover have done is they've given you a rather special piping that you can actually use. this is a fusible web, and let me show it to you. Basically it's a piping cord wrapped up in a fusible web, and if you cut a 1 1/4 inch wide strip of fabric, preferably on the bias, you simply lay the piping inside the fabric like that and fold it over and press it in place. And this is where something like the Clover iron can be remarkably useful, because it'll just get the point of the iron up the edge there to press the piping over, press the fabric over the piping. So we can make the piping. What happens then is you take the outside of the bag, the piping. Now be careful. On some of these bag patterns, the pocket is actually shaped, so make sure you put the piping on the right end. Piping goes along one edge, and this is where you want to use your zipper foot. Now the nice thing about the little machine that is beside me here is the Husqvarna Viking, is it has in its box of feet a very nice zipper foot, and you will use the zipper foot to sew along the edge there, thereby getting the piping in place. Once you've sewn the piping in place, you will then attach the other half of the pocket, the lining, and again use the zipper foot to sew it in place. When that has been done, we've got to do the magnetic clasp. Now, I think one of the great things about all these Clover products is their quality. And this is the magnetic bag closure. And without this, your bag just doesn't have the professional, finish. Okay, a bit of Velcro's fine, a button's fine, a popper's fine, but this will give it that amazing professional finish. And when you're going to add these bag closures, the pattern gives you a mark exactly where to put it on. And what I suggest you do when you add it is you reinforce the back of the little magnetic closure with some form of stiffening. And the stiffening that I'm going to use is in fact the same stiffening that I'm using for the base of the bag. This is the Trace and Create bag stiffening stuff. I forget its exact name. And if you cut literally a little lump of that, now it's very cuttable with scissors. So if you cut a little lump, just round the corners off, because you don't want to have nasty sharp corners. Now tip, having cut a lump of this off, What they advise you to do is to make holes in here because you need to push the prongs of the magnetic bag closure through the holes. And what I would suggest you do is, rather than try and guess, if you actually use the underneath side, pop it on your little bit of stiffening and actually mark it with some form of a pen or pencil, you'll get the marks in the right place. Then simply with your scissors, push your scissors or a sharp implement through there, making the holes. Then how the bag closure gets attached to the fabric is you need 2 holes on the material. And again, you could use this to actually put onto the fabric. Let's turn it that way up. I know you don't want one over here, but just me sort of give you the rough idea as to how it would work. Mark through the little underneath section. Make the holes with your scissors and do press it in very gently. Take the bag snap closure, insert it through the holes. I've got to find them now. Where did I put them? There they've gone to. I've lost them. Can't have lost them that easily. Let's make 2 more. It's because I would choose dotty fabric. Right, start again. Can't push me scissors through there. That's it, you wouldn't do this, I trust. It'll probably ruin your scissors. And then you push the bag snap folder through the material. Let's get it in the right place. There we go. Right, once you popped it through there, take your little piece of bag stiffening stuff, pop it on the top there. Then take the other section, the underneath section, pop that on the top there, and that really is going to be nice and stable in the fabric. Using something like the back of a pair of pliers, you can then fasten the closure, and that makes a wonderfully nice, neat closure. Right, we've done the pocket. Let's take those bits off. There we go. Right, there is the pocket. Having done that, you will need to do just join the ends together. So join ends together along there. Right, pocket out the way. Pocket gets added to the centre section of the bag, and it pays to just pin it in place down the sides. And we're now ready to start making up the rest of the bag. You will have the 2 side sections, and there is section number 1, and then here is section number 2. And number 2 I've actually already stitched in place. When you come to stitch the sections in place, it pays, and believe you me, it pays to make certain you get them the right way round. How it goes onto the bag is that this cutaway indentation is actually to the outside edge, right? And do make certain that when you cut your pieces out, you get a right and a left. So you are going to stitch this onto that side of the bag, right? You will now make 1/2 of the bag. So let me just very rapidly show you stitching this on here. Little Husqvarna, great little machine. It comes with a 1/4 inch foot, but if you want to, you can set the needle wherever you like to get any size seam allowance, and literally just sew straight down the edge here. Now, this machine is ideal for dressmakers, curtain makers, patchwork makers, anybody. Really is remarkably good. It's a good idea not to sew over any pins, so let's check they're underneath there. It has a speed control, so you can go fast or slow. I'm not going to sweep everything off the counter. Let's move that out the way there. Pop it up to one side. And you stitch the bag sides on. Now, 1/4 inch seam allowance is recommended, so if you can stick to that, that would be brilliant. If you do wobble a bit, it doesn't really matter. And don't forget the use of a thread saver. Small scrap of fabric added to the work at the end and cut. Okay, so we've made 1/2 of the bag. And there is 1/2 of the bag. You construct the other half of the bag in exactly the same way, adding the pocket if you wish. If you don't wish, you don't have to. Whether you want a magnetic bag closure or not, the choice is yours. Having got the 2 pieces, the 2 pieces get sewn together. And here they are sewn together. When you actually stitch them together, it will pay you to press the seam on the back open and flat. Now, Clover have designed a product called Bag Stiffening. It's their Shape and Create. It's a flexible stiffening product. And the nice thing about it is you can sew through it, it adds stiffening, it's washable. If, for instance, you run out because you want to make another bag, there's no reason why you can't link pieces together with, say, a zigzag. So you can stitch bits together, and I just put a spare piece on the back and linked 2 bits together to get a bit the right size. Clover recommend that when you've got your bag stiffening cut to the right size, is that you hold it in place with their basting tape. Now, this actually is remarkably useful. It's a bit like double-sided sticky tape, but it's meant for the sewing world, and it will hold things in place. So you dressmakers out there, if you want to sort of stick something in place momentarily and then sew through it, this stuff is ideal for you. You get quite a lot on the reel, and it will last a very long time. Put your 2 pieces of the double-sided basting tape onto the back of the bag stiffening, peel the paper off, and then you can stick it in place on the centre of the bag. It's at this stage now where if you wish to add feet, now feet do add a really professional finish to the bag, and it also prevents it from sitting down on the floor when you put it on the car, beside the car on the tarmac. And the feet can be added in exactly the same way. Again, you've got these little feet, highly professional quality, really good solid little feet, and they come with the inner section so you can fasten the feet to the bottom of the bag. When you fasten the feet, make sure your marks are on the outside of the bag, else you will never guess where the feet actually go. So mark the bag using the holes on the pattern. Put the feet in. Right, having added the feet to all 4 corners, if you so desire, this is how the bag gets put together, and it's really rather neat. Fold the bag in half, right sides together, and align the seam at the side. Underneath the sewing machine, you will sew hopefully 1/4 inch. Now, this funny little corner at the end will become very apparent in a moment. Now, I'm just going to whip along here using a long stitch. So I'm upping my machine to the longest stitch length possible, purely for speed. You lot out there, will use regular stitch length, won't you? Yes, miss. That's what I like, nice, obedient students. Right, so proceed all the way along there. When you get to the end, cut your little bit of scrap off, stick it back on again, Bob's your uncle, and you're done. Now, this strange corner, this little bit here, this is really rather neat, because how you make the bag have a flat bottom easily is you flatten that, there we go, and all you do now is literally stitch along this seam right from one side to t'other. So just squish it flat and flatten it. Whether you sew it from this side or t'other side really doesn't matter. So take the opening and shut it. It's like a large mouth. What do you think of the show so far? Rubbish. Okay. Lies, she says. Right, so flatten it out there. And you can see now why on this little machine I really do appreciate having the nice table that comes with it. And you will sew off your little scrap, flattening the seam out in the middle and right across to the other side. And you don't have to be perfect. I mean, come on, life shouldn't be absolutely a pain. Just relax, enjoy it. And you would do exactly the same thing to the other side of the bag. So there is the corner of the bag done. Now let me very rapidly do the other side of the bag. So just as a reminder, line up the side seams. You will probably pin it, whack your way down, all the way down there, keeping all the edges together, sewing beautifully straight. Bear in mind, I'm doing this with a long stitch because I had every intention of pulling it out so I can use this demonstration again. You didn't think I did all this just to use it once, did you? No, of course you didn't. Right, little scrap on the end. Use another one. That's it. And then flatten the corner out. So remember, you're going to shut the mouth when you come to flatten the corner out. Shut it, okay? Shut it. And just sew along the bottom. Very rapidly do that. I know I haven't got it quite in the right place, so don't sit there crowing and saying, oh, she hasn't done that quite right. This is speed. You will do it carefully. And what's more, you can sit down. And you don't have to do it at a really strange angle. Let's cut my little scrap off. Practice what you preach, Jennifer. There we go. Right, so that is basically the outside of the bag. To make the lining, you do exactly the same thing. So lining, here is lining. Now, this is where I deviate from the pattern. The pattern tells you to turn the bag outside, right side out. There we go. And to then drop the lining inside, right side of lining on the outside. So we've got the wrong sides together. Get it round the right way, Jennifer. And what you do then is when you've dropped one piece into t'other, it instructs you on the instructions to bind round the edge. Now, there's no reason why you can't do that, but that actually takes effort. Now, as you are aware, I try to take the easiest way out. So my recommendation would be is to turn the bag outside, right side up, drop it inside the bag lining. Inside the bag lining. And then all we're going to do is to sew round the top edge. And that is how you could actually achieve getting it lined considerably easier. Now, if you're going to do that option, you have to remember on the lining to leave a hole somewhere. And I leave the hole on the lining in the bottom corner. Now, that's very briefly how you can make the bag, but we've not added the vital pieces that make it very special. This is the use of the D-rings, or indeed you could use O-rings. When you're going to make these D-rings, you need to create the strap to put the D-rings on with. And here again, Clover have come up with some products that make life really easy for making a strap. There is this Create a Strap fabric. And basically what this is, it's a fusible web, a fusible fabric that you iron to the back of your material. And the nice thing about it is you've got these dotty lines, and when you've ironed it on, the fabric will fold beautifully on the dotty lines. It thereby stiffens the fabric and gives you an accurate strap. So it's going to look something like this when you've done it. Neatly pressed to the back of the material, and then re-iron it on those creases. And that makes the outside of the strap. To make the inside of the strap, you can use a contrasting fabric, and you can see on this little strap I've done it. To use the lining fabric perhaps, and if you cut a 1.5 inch strip, you can feed this through the Clover bias binding maker. Now, you may say to yourself, why is she using the Clover bias binding maker when she could use various other ways of doing it? The reason being is that there are many different ways of achieving things in this world. And for some people who like gadgets and machinery and want speed and perhaps have dexterity issues, then the bias tape machine might be the answer. If, for instance, you perhaps want to just have something that's a bit smaller, or perhaps you just don't have the space to store it, then the Clover do these bias tape machines. And you simply feed the fabric in through the end of the little gadget, slide it out of the pointed end here. It's got a pulling handle on it, because how it works is you take the iron, and the Clover iron is remarkably good for doing this. Please do not use the Clover iron on your cutting mat. Mine is off. And you simply press the fabric as it comes out of the Clover bias tape maker, pulling it along with the little handle. And that makes a really nice, accurate strip. And what you would do then with that accurate strip, and here's one I did earlier, is lay it on the back of the stiffened outside and stitch it down. Now, when it comes to this stitching, this is where you can have fun on your sewing machine. You could use a decorative thread. You could use a fancy pattern. And again, the little Husqvarna here has some really nice little patterns. If I turn this round this way, you can see there's a lovely little herringbone pattern here that would work very nicely. There's also a very nice honeycomb pattern here. Or you could indeed use perhaps the blind hem stitch, or you could use the wiggle if you wanted speed. So you've got some very, very nice patterns. If you've got loads and loads and loads of time and you're using a very decorative thread, then perhaps some of the fancier ones down the bottom would work equally well. Okay, so we've created our strap. To add the D-rings, it's nothing more complicated than taking the strap, here is the strap, cutting off the desired lengths, and all the lengths are given to you in your pattern, so don't panic and you will measure them. Take the D-rings. Now, why am I using these things? Because it's professional and it makes a really good professional finish. Slide the strap through there and decide whether you want to have the inner fabric on the outside or the outer fabric on the inside. And it does pay if you're putting 4 of them on to make certain you've got 4 going the same way. These then get pinned to the outside of the bag, going downwards into the material. And I suggest you pin them on and stitch them on with a couple of stitches round the top. So one will go there, one will go there. You will need 4. So pop it on there, stick it in the right place. It's all marked on the pattern. Pin it on there. There we go. When you've done that and they're dangling inside, align all the top edges of the bag and sew right the way round the entire caboodle. Turn it through and you will have the bag. When you've turned it through, now I was going to show you a surprise here. I've got in this bag, I asked for stuffing, and I seem to have got either somebody's trousers or something in there. Isn't it amazing? Fantastic. Yes, wonderful. You can, and to prove, I cut this bag out of the 3½ yards of fabric, and that is what I had left. You really can get it out of it. But do use the trick that I advised you of drawing round the pattern onto the interface and laying it on the material. There is the bag. Here is the hole that I left, and that's how I turned it through. I left my hole on this one on the side. You could leave it on the side or on the bottom. When you've turned the entire bag through, simply add the bag handles by threading them through the D-ring, folding it back on itself and stitching it down. And little tip, when you thread it through the D-ring and fold it back on itself, let's do it again, rather than folding it over directly like that, which makes it rather sort of lumpy bumpy at the sides, if you fold it into a mitre and then fold it over, so mitre it, so into a point, fold it over then, it makes it far less lumpy bumpy down the sides because the mitre is tucked in. Flop it over the D-ring and sew it in place. And a good tip is when you come to stitch it in place, use your zipper foot because you can get very close to the edge of the D-ring with that. If you use the regular foot, you can't sew so close. So add your handles, and the handles could be any size you like. The choice is yours. Suggest you sort of add it to one end, take it to the other, pin it before you cut anything off. Once you've done all that, one final suggestion is to top stitch right the way round the top. So there you are. That is the Clover Florida bag pattern using the 3½ yards of fabric.
You are absolutely marvellous. You know that, right? Absolutely marvellous. I hope you're having lots of fun with Jennie here on the channel. Of course, she's got 2 more demonstrations lined up for you, which does not, it's no trouble to me, but it puts her under huge pressure. So stay tuned for 2 more. So that was, of course, the Florida.
That was the Florida.
We're going to be moving on to California next. So the details that you're going to need, if you want the pattern, because remember, everything starts, as Jennie took you through, with the pattern. Isn't it lovely as well that she's given you her variations on how she's changing things, because when she's tried the pattern and, well, it hasn't quite worked out as easily as she'd hope, she's given you a variation on that as well. So the details are on your screen right now if you want to make the California bag. I'll just quickly give you the fabric details as well. So 191551 if you want to get hold of the Florida bag, and then the next one, the details actually don't correspond with that picture. The picture is actually for the fabric. So should we give you the details for the fabric quickly while we're here? I'll just quickly give you the details. No, I won't be doing that. Oh, they're in a bit of a muddle upstairs, ladies and gentlemen. I won't pretend that they're not. There you go. Now the 2 things match up. Marvellous. Let's quickly do California, shall we, everybody? So from Florida on one side, flip over the whole of the continent of North America. Let's go to California, shall we? And the details are coming on your screen right now. Ka-ching. It's only a pattern, everyone. Don't worry, you know what it works. 191551 is your item number. But you want the interfacing details. I know you've been asking for that, so let's quickly give you the details for those. That's 192157. Interfacing looks a little something like this when you photograph it on a white background. And it's only $2.69. And please don't forget that has no postage and packaging this weekend. In fact, I'll go as far as to say stock up on little bits and pieces while you're on the web this weekend, because no P&P.
I know, because you can have the whole lot.
Exactly.
I mean, you're saving $2.99 on every single thing.
Well,
brilliant.
I mean, it's $6.99 on an order, because if you think our team are quite generous, aren't they?
Yes.
Let's quickly give you the details here. The little feet. Oh, the little feet, they just finish off your
I love the little
bag.
feet.
Yep, you can have them in either the silver sort of colourway, which is just over there, or you can, that's the glossy nickel, or you can have this one, which is the satin bronze. So 192274. As I mentioned, there's loads of other very useful stuff which Jennie's been mentioning to you throughout. I know you wanted specifically these, and Jennie highlighted them, the closures, to just make it that much more professional. 192142 is your item number. And here's the stabilizer that Jennie used. Yep, you're going to see these used again and again. 192140 is your item number at $6.29. I do want to give you the details for that machine as well, the Husqvarna Viking. When I was here with Mandy on Sunday last week, my goodness me, I can't even tell you how many people came to order for this. Do you know what our team did, Jennie?
What?
They got in touch with the people at a Viking during the week.
Really?
Because we didn't actually have any more of this with the extension table, and they've made a special allowance, because you know the extension table's extra £40.
Yes, I know.
And they've specially, for our crafters who really took to this on your and Mandy's advice, they've let us have a little bit more
I'm
stock.
not surprised either. That is cracking.
Flexi, that is for you on 3 payments of £96.33. Girls and guys, she's ready, and there are 2 more bags to do if we're lucky, because things, you know, time is time and it's running out. So, Jenny,
we
are
will
you ready?
get on very speedily.
All right, I'm going to leave you to it.
Thanking you.
Ta-ra, everyone.
Right. Having seen how you do the Florida bag, the California bag is actually a very different bag pattern. In its simplest element, it can look just like this. And this is quite rather neat, because if you fold the top down, it tucks into the pocket. So you get a bag that is small and neat and elegant, but when you go out shopping and you buy too much, you can extend it. So that's one of the little bags. Another of the little bags actually has a flap, so you can have a flap with the bag closure. And again, you get small, neat, tidy bag, but when you do shopping and you go and buy too much, you can extend the bag. And again, the D-rings, or in the rectangular ones, can be... The bag furniture, I have to stress, is cracking. Okay, the bag gets made in very much the same way. You construct, as I showed you before, the outside of the bag and indeed the inside of the bag. And beware the pocket, because the pocket on this bag is shaped. And if you don't get the piping on the right edge, you could end up with the piping on the bottom of the bag. Does it matter? No, it's a feature. Hey, come on. So do watch that the pocket is actually shaped. Make up the 2 halves. So there are your 2 halves. Put your 2 halves together. And again, just watch you get the right little bits. So you will join them together, right sides together, stitch along there. When you stitch along there, you will open it out and add the usual bag stiffening stuff. So just showing you how this useful little machine works. Now, if you want to change a pattern on this machine, very simply, you just press the little arrow here and the pattern you will come up. So if I wanted to do, for some reason, a zigzag, which I don't, there is a zigzag, there's a 3-step zigzag, etc., etc. And you have loads of little patterns. There are 20 little patterns here. Right, back to number one, and it will always reset itself back to default. So if you've got in a muddle and you've fiddled with the stitch, just simply go back to pattern number 1 and it'll set itself all back again. Right, sewing off there, off your little scrap, down the bottom here, putting the 2 pieces together, pin them. And for those of you who've seen me before, you know I'm a great fan of flower pins. To the bottom, when you get to the bottom, stop, cut your threads, or rather use the little thread saver, sew onto that, there we go. So having done bag bottom, you then treat it in exactly the same way. You will open it out, you will take the bag stiffening, cut a piece of the bag stiffening stuff, add it to the bottom of the bag, sew up the sides as I showed you, remembering sewing across the bottom in that funny little mouth shape, shut the mouth. Having constructed the outside of the bag, you add the D-rings, just as I showed you before, on their little tabs, put them in the right place, it's marked out on the pattern, ditto the other side, make up the lining, and let me just show you how the pattern actually does want you to stitch it together. Turn this rapidly through, and the pattern suggests you drop the lining inside, and then you use the Clover bias binding maker to make the binding to go all the way round the top. Now this actually is one of the times when if you want to make a nice neat feature and actually give it an interesting edge, then I would use that technique, because if you notice on the little bag that I dropped on the floor here, I've gone round the top with the binding and given it an edge. So you could use my trick of dropping the 2 together and leaving a hole and turning it through, or you could bind round the top. And you have a choice of various different flaps you could put on. You could have a smaller flap, or you could have a bigger flap. And do remember, when you put the flap on, let's get rid of that, to put the flap on going downwards this way, because if you don't, when you turn the bag through or when you bind it, you will get a very strange surprise. Right, that is very briefly through the California bag, because I want to show you how to make the bag that comes from Tuck's Textures 2, because that's a really neat bag. Right, okie dokie. In Tucks and Textures 2, Right, this is where I discovered that dressmakers can't read. So if you're a dressmaker, the pattern is in the book. You simply trace the pattern off any size you like. You can take it to a photocopier, you can blow it up, you can get squared paper. It's a technique, it's a how-to. It's a bag carried by the Pilgrims way back in the 12th century. And basically it consists of an oval flap, almost part of a large circle for the body of the bag, and a pocket. The pocket is drawn at half size. You need to place the straight edge of the pocket on a fold. Now, I said that the fabrics are enough to make 2 bags, and there is the second bag cut out. So bag number 1 and bag number 2. All right, you've got enough fabric there to cut out 2 of them. Let's just pop that little bag there. How I suggest you do it is make yourself paper copies of the pattern. All right, so you can use any old scrap of paper. So there is the bag part, there is the flap part, there is the pocket part. Cut out the pieces. You will need to cut out 2 pieces of the bag part, and you'll cut out 1 in your lining and 1 in your outer fabric. These could be the same. You don't have to use different colours. Having cut these out, pin the 2 layers together and sew round the arced edge, not along the straight edge. Having sewn round the arced edge, if you then just clip it, and I mean just literally clip it, don't do anything amazing, just to nick it every so often. You don't have to do dressmakers ones where they cut little V's out. Turn it right side out, press that arced edge wonderfully accurately, and then you're going to sew 2 lines of stitch because there is some elastic. You want to sew your first line of stitch the other side of the seam allowances, and the second line of the stitch a little further out, the width of the elastic away. Err on the side of more is better than less. Otherwise you spend forever trying to get the elastic through the hole. Having sewn your channel, you then thread the elastic through. Now, when it comes to threading the elastic through, a little hint. Let me just retrieve that from the floor where I tossed it. 2 little hints, 1 bit I forgot and 1 hint. When I've sewn the 2 channels, I then just sew along the top of the bag to close the opening, otherwise it slides. Elastic on a safety pin. Thread elastic through the channel, but pin the other end of the elastic to the work, because otherwise by the time you get round to the beginning again, the end comes through and you've lost it. So pin it, don't be a dafty. Having put the elastic through, you then need to jiggle it a bit. You actually only need 11 inches of elastic, and I jiggle it by having a flat bit one end of 2 inches, 7 inches of scrunch and a flat bit the other end of 2 inches. And the reason for the 2 flat bits is that's where the handle's going to go, all right? So when you've done that, it will pay you to stitch the elastic in place. It makes rather a nice little hat now, and if the camera can sort of go back a bit, I will show you, because my students always do this. They always make this sweet little hat, okay? Right, you've now done the body of the bag. Put the body of the bag to one side, taking the flap of the bag, and you'll need to cut 2 pieces, 1 for the flap and 1 for the lining. It's all clear in the book. Put a piece of wadding batting, and that Hobbs batting is brilliant. When I made this bag sample, I didn't have any of the Hobbs batting. Without doubt, it's actually considerably better than is this rather naff polyester. Attach the front of the bag onto the wadding, either with some free motion, or you could do straight lines of stitch. And this is where this little machine scores again, because in this little machine you get amongst the feet the quilting guide, and that is how you can very easily do straight lines. Having quilted the front of the bag to the wadding, you need to make the little tab. Let's move that out of the way there. And the tab is nothing more complicated than a 4.5 inch strip of fabric, literally folded sides to middle, and then place it on one end of the flap, preferably in the middle, and just have it so it lies flat on the top. Don't do anything fancy twisting it over, just have it so it lies nice and flat on the top, like that. Let's just put a pin in it. And it would pay you to put a couple of stitches in. So let me put a couple of stitches. When you get this tab on the top of the bag, make certain it is in the middle. Fold the pattern in half to find the center, and then just anchor it on with a couple of stitches. And if you keep your stitching inside the seam allowance, that will be much better. Then you won't have to unpick it. This machine not only has a forwards, it goes backwards. So I would go forwards and backwards a couple of times on the top there just to anchor it in place. There we go. And remember, it keeps on going backwards all the time you keep your finger on the bottom. Right, having attached the tab, this is where the magic happens. You take the belly of the bag, the bottom here, find the middle of the straight edge, fold it in half, either put a little pin in it, nick it, or mark it, perhaps with the clover marking pen. And then you attach the belly of the bag to the flap, aligning middle to middle, find my pins, there, and bending it round the edge, and you'll get it all wonderfully straight. I'm just doing it very, very roughly because I'm going to sew it in a moment. Here we go, round there, and round there. And then you're going to stitch the entire thing on, and just literally stitch it on, starting at the top here, round to the end. I'm going to up my stitch length for speed. You will use regular stitch length, and you will be careful. Right, round onto there, drop the breast foot, take the pins out as you go, and stitch the belly of the bag completely onto the flap, all the way around the entire thing. Right, this is being done very fast and at a funny angle, because I'm aware we're going to run out of time if I don't get my act together. You'll never know how this bag finishes. Right, here we go. That's it. That's it. Right, having done that, now there is a lining, and what you're going to do with the lining is, to the lining I like to add a pocket. So we have lining. This is exactly the same size as the flap. Your pocket, and remember the pocket has to be placed on a fold. You want double. Fold pocket in half, and you could decorate this edge here, the folded edge, with a fancy stitch that you can use on the machine and a contrasting thread. You then add the pocket to the lining. Right side of lining, pocket. Stitch it on. And here we have it stitched on. And you can see I've used the little herringbone stitch on the Husqvarna machine to decorate along the top. If you want to divide the pocket into two, it's a good idea to put a piece of rubbish fabric on the back, just to secure it, and then sew from the outside to the top and back. So pocket. Pocket gets then put, move that out the way, onto the actual bag itself, making a giant sandwich. And you're going to sew round the entire thing, and where you're going to start your stitching is just here, about there, and you finish about there. Have we got time to very quickly do it? I don't think so. I think we might have time. You will pin it in place. This is going to be the fastest bag known to man. Drop my needle down there. It'll probably come out totally squiffy, but it'll show you the how to. Lower press the foot. You will stitch all the way round, doing everything beautifully, having pinned it a treat, right the way round the entire thing. Here we go, round the top. Your seam allowance will be accurate. And if you just joined us, this is a very rough way of making the bag. And for those of you who think I'm sewing at a funny angle, you are allowed to sit straight at the table with the sewing machine in front of you. Now, when you come round down the other side, you stop. We want an opening about 4 inches. Okay? Hole. Because all you do then is you will trim all the rubbish off, turn it through the hole, and you'll be amazed. Turn it through the hole, turn it through the hole. And it's at this stage when students say, oh, look, it's all wrong. No, it isn't. Turn it that away. There you go. And you see, you actually don't need to sew up the bottom because there's no hole in the bottom. The hole's in the lining. There's your little bag, okay? All ready to have its button stitched on the front and a handle. And all I do with the handle is cut a strip of fabric, press it up, it's about 4 inches wide, press up by about 1 inch and a bit, press over by about 1 1/4 inches, repress it so that centre fold is in the middle, cut strips of wadding to go inside and literally lay the wadding in there, stitch up it, and that makes a really nice handle. Right, so there is the Pilgrim script. One last thing to show you in just a minute is how you make the bottom of this bag. All right, so far, this is now bag number 4. This particular bag is the PDF that's on the Classroom. It will also be on my website if you can't download it from the Quilting Classroom. I will put it on my website on the Create and Craft sampler page probably about 6 o'clock tonight when I get home. So PDF, full PDF for that is on here. The little thing I want to make you is a trick of giving the bag a flat bottom. So, if you're going to make the flat bottom to the bag, this is how you do it. It's a really neat trick. Let me get rid of some of this rubbish and just jump it on the floor. There we go. This particular bag I actually did to a whole load of children in Wales. And the way you make the flat bottom, let's borrow one of these strips of material. And the bag itself literally comes from a straight half yard. Take your half yard, put any decoration you like on it, fold the half yard in half, and to make the flat bottom of the bag, simply lift up the fold and tuck the fold in. And it would be quite nice if when you tucked it in, it was even on both sides. Having tucked it in, simply then sew down the sides. And if you do that, and when you sew down the sides, so here's one I did earlier. If I stick my hand inside it, you can see. Okay, there is the fold tucked neatly in. I've stitched down the sides. When I turn it right side out and poke the corner out, you will find that it makes a very nice little triangle. And there we have a very nice little triangle. Let's get in the right order there. Come on, Jennifer, get your act together. There we go. And it makes a triangle at the bottom, and you have a flat bottom to your bag. So that bag, which I've called the handbag, and the reason why it's called the handbag is because it's got a hand on it. But think, you could use the children's feet. You could use your husband's hand. You could, instead, if you are going to draw around your hand, place it on the back of a piece of fusible web and just draw around it. If you've got rings and things, don't try to sort of add the rings in. So there you go, the handbag with the positive on one side, negative on the other side, tucked in bottom, nice flat bottom, and it's the one time in the world where you can choose whether you have a big bottom or a little bottom, because it all depends as to how much you tuck in. So there you go, Jo.
Can we just give Jennie Rayment the most huge round of applause? Totally awesome masterclass. Let me just tell you, Jennie, there is a stack of emails, the like of which I haven't seen in a very, very long time. I cannot read them all because there are far too many. We will, of course, give them to Jennie so she can have a quick look over them, because a couple of you have, of course, asked questions. But Bernadette...
And some people asked questions from yesterday, which I will again answer. I'll put the answers on my website. So all of these things I'll answer tonight or tomorrow on my website on the page Create and Craft Sampler. All right?
All right, so go and have a look. But I want to say thank you to Bernadette, who sent pictures. Lovely. Linda, Margaret, Dina, Wendy, who didn't know she wanted to make a bag, but she knows she wants to now. Judy, Maureen, Lynn, Marilyn, Shirley, Joyce, Pat, Anne, Michelle, Yvette, Nuala. She is a regular watcher of your shows.
Lovely.
Lee, Julie, Helen, Val, Serena, Cynthia, and Margaret Mark too. But I did want to read you just a few. And this one comes from Rita, and she says, really looking forward to your class today. I've been collecting fabrics to make bags for a while now, but needed to have the motivation and inspiration. And Jennie, you are just the person to do that. So that will also, of course, go into our cupcake of love today. Lovely to see the bag demonstration today. Thank you for the tip about the backing for the magnetic clip. Putting one onto bags is always something I have a problem with, as they always seem to be too heavy for the fabric. It's something I've never got quite right, but I will use your tip next time.
Oh, look at that.
And Jennie has, in fact, attached a picture.
Excellent, like that.
So, good work there, Jennie. Well done. Thank you very much for submitting that to us as well. Well done. Don't forget, of course, to send in your cards if you want to win.
I have the pictures. They go in my gallery, Rogues Gallery.
Rogues Gallery picture for you there. And then Linda in Whitney wrote, thanks so much for today's shows. You always do such good instructive sessions. A bag looks great and I want to have a go. I'm not a great sewer, but you are an inspiration. And I'm going to have another go thanks to you. So thank you for brightening up her morning. Jennie, honestly, you have been absolutely super today.
I'm now going to go home and lie in a darkened corner and let the CH bring me calming cups of tea.
You have just been lovely. And didn't you do an absolutely superb job? I know you've all enjoyed it. Look, Magic has put them in. I must just tell you, literally dozens and dozens of emails came through. I tried to make a list of everybody who's come through. It's been a lovely morning, has it not? Well, you can look forward to lots more from Jennie. And don't forget as well, she's
Next
written
Quilting Classroom should be on the 5th of May.
5th of May.
And we're doing waistcoats. Meant to tell you, waistcoats.
That's so you.
Yes, you see, with or without texture, 5th of May.
Okay, so that's the 5th of May. 2 of Jennie's books on today's lineup, which of course you'll find on creatingcraft.tv. I just want to quickly go through the fabrics that she used again today for you. 3 choices. There was, of course, that... I see you nicked that one. Very good. That was from the oak. Actually, that was forest. One piece that Jennie took from forest. When you look at it closely, it's kind of got an African feel to it.
Yes.
Then you've got forest, and then you've also got the summer. I have to say, I'm particularly taken with the pinky, salmony summer.
Yeah, I thought it was super.
275908 is the item number, and of course from the lady herself, Tucks and Textures and Pleats is one of the books on the lineup. The pattern that she used for the Florida bag first, actually it was California we were going to do. There we go, California, and that's the one that we started the second set of demos with, 191550, and we've also got Florida, which was the first demonstration that we saw, and here are the details, 191551, and then just to quickly say, Tucks and Textures too.
See, I never knew I was going to become a famous name when I wrote these books.
No.
And things like the totally tucked up band can be very difficult.
On TV, these are risks that we must take. 275982 is the item number. And of course, so many of you have taken the advice from our doyenne of quilting, the lovely Jennie Rayment, about the Husqvarna Viking sewing machine. Just the key thing here is, I don't know if any of you know, but the real big hoo-ha over this was we managed to get, because it sold so well last Sunday, we actually went through all of our stock. Our team begged and pleaded with Viking to get you the extension table, and they did that. So 272090, and it is on 3 flexis. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge thank you to each and every one of you. We are getting so much great support, not just, of course, for our quilting shows with Jennie Rayment.
For everything.
For everything, and the support of our cause. We're trying to raise money for the Great Ormond Street Hospital. Thank you so much for all your sponsorship.
Sponsor Joanne for the marathon.
Yes, thank you, Nigel. This time next Sunday, I am going to be marching.
It's tough going, I can tell you. I can tell you.
Thank you so much. She ran it.
Oh, we're
2
going
years
to do
ago.
the spotty potty. Quick.
So they're bringing it. They're bringing it, everybody.
We've got
she's going to give
with
this
voucher
away.
for Creative Sewing Weekend. You can find details on my website. Right.
And you can find all the details for sponsoring there as well. Right, Jennie, I'll do the mixing.
Right.
Here you go.
You wear the hat. Okay, right. I'm going to have one.
Come on,
I'm going to have this one. This one, right. Okay, this one is from...
Who's it from? It's from Bernadette, who sent you pictures.
Well, brilliant, excellent, absolutely super. Well done, Bernadette, and well done you for doing the marathon.
Well, 20 miles I did yesterday. I just want you to have a look. Is that not the biggest blister you've ever seen in your life?
God.
If you want to sponsor £3, 265480.
Oh, great, you can tell me now. I can do it.
You can sponsor £5, 265482. But if you want to be super generous and do even more, go to the Just Giving page. Go, Mummy Jojo.
Yep,
so
will do.
Thank you, everybody. You are also lovely. Multiple sponsorships. Just one little £3, everything counts. This is the lovely Jennie Rayment. She's going to be back 5th of May.
Another class of waistcoats. Yes.
I can't wait. That's so you. I'm telling you what, I'm lining up for that. I hope you've enjoyed. Nigel's up next, and don't you go anywhere. We'll see you a little bit later. Bye-bye.